Okay, hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're talking about Godzilla vs. Kong, and the moral of the story, getting old sucks. This whole movie was like new bitch versus old bitch. Like, I was just watching it like, man, nobody likes to be replaced. And all I have to say is honestly, like, technology is going to make us all obsolete anyways. Unless, of course, we realize we're the ones kind of developing this technology. So why we insist on creating things that are cannibalizing us, I don't know. But this movie made me miss theaters. It made me miss a crowd because there's so many kind of one-liners in this and so many like otherwise very corny kind of moments that would have been more hype with an audience. Like, you kind of need that pretentious individual to kind of hype it up. But because they're not there, or because the theater isn't allowed to be as packed as it normally would be for something like this, it does kind of take away, because I was watching the theater. I saw it in theaters, but it wasn't like I was the only one in the theater. And I kept thinking, man, like, this would be so much better with like a packed audience. And I think the best part of this movie is the storyline. And normally, like, I was not excited for this movie at all. Normally because they're so like convoluted and they're very long for no reason. So you have like this made up science. You have these weirdo characters. There's always some sort of weird doomsday at the end and you don't really understand like why. And they literally just kind of make up science, and it's like, I don't have to be a scientist to understand that, like, this isn't science and you're all like really bad at your jobs. And then you have all these characters that are so like random, you know what I mean? Like, normally in these types of movies you have these characters and they could be played by literally like anyone, and they're all really bad at their jobs. So they're trying to stop something that they cause, and so you just end up finishing these movies, and then you have these really long-winded fight scenes that are terrible. But this is not the case, actually. This is not the case. And I think the cast did a good job. I enjoyed Rebecca Hall, Alexander Skarsgård, who's just like, he's just a very good looking man to look at. I like Millie Bobby Brown. And you have like literally different storylines. You know, you have Team Kong, Team Godzilla. But they all do a good job of getting you invested in Godzilla versus Kong. And this was the best part because they actually invested time in turning them into like real characters that you're kind of invested in and you kind of feel bad for, right? Like, you don't know, you're kind of like, if anything, I wish the fight scenes were more, and I wish they went at it more because it's really entertaining and you're not bored. Like, I really thought I was going to be bored. Let's start with Kong. Poor Kong, you know what I mean? Like, getting old sucks. He's just kind of left to be this like hollering old man. He's kind of short. Like, let's just keep it real. And the whole movie, like, they kind of set him up in the beginning as being this kind of, because they're trying to find him a home. They want to keep him safe because they care about him. And at first you're like, okay, yeah. But then you realize they want to keep him safe because like he's not going to survive anywhere. And so they get you invested in thinking that he's this weak individual. So by the time Godzilla comes, you're like really concerned for Kong's safety. So they did a good job of humanizing Kong and kind of like making you feel bad for him. So like, it's hard to root against him because you're like, he's really, you know, he's doing his best. And then you get to Godzilla, and Godzilla is just like, nobody puts baby in a corner. You know, I'm not going to be replaced, because they kind of introduce a new monster, right? Like Godzilla 2.0, and that's kind of the main like kind of storyline here, is that these humans are developing a Godzilla that will, I guess, in the end protect the humans. But Godzilla is just angry. He's triggered. He hates everyone. And his anger isn't even directed at Kong necessarily. It's just directed at everyone. And you're watching Godzilla and you're increasingly concerned for Kong's safety. And honestly, like, I don't know who you like better, but there's no way, that was never going to happen. Like, if this was Godzilla versus Kong without this third monster, I don't see how Kong could have survived. Like, at the end of the day, he's a fire-breathing being. Like, poor Kong, like, what? He has no special abilities. He's basically the equivalent of Batman, you know? He's just rich. He just has rich support. He just has investors. But short of that, like, I didn't see it. So we get to these fight scenes, and my only criticism with these fight scenes is that there wasn't more of them. Because they kind of set it up. Like, they'll have these corny moments where they're like, Godzilla's coming, or Kong, or, you know, let's go. And then so you're kind of hyped up. So by the time you get to it, you're like, let's go. Like, let's get at it. And I actually wish in part that they didn't introduce this third monster, because if it was Godzilla via Kong or versus Kong, like, I would have been happy with that. because the times they go at it, they hate each other, they can't stand each other, they're disgusted, like, I hate you too. Like, they don't speak, but you can kind of guess what they would say to each other if they could speak. And so you're watching them just like holler at each other, like these, hollering old men where, these new kind of versions of them are, being produced and manufactured. And honestly, you feel bad for both of them. But the fight scenes were fun. They were so entertaining. And the character development with everyone is geared towards kind of heightening and making Kong and Godzilla more, just more three-dimensional. Like, they're not just these hollering beasts, right? And so the fight scenes were epic. I wish there was more of them. Does this new storyline work? Because it's pitched as Godzilla versus Kong, but really you got this other monster that kind of ends up altering this whole like altercation, I guess you could say. And it does work in the end. And it's kind of it's like a satisfying end for both sides. And I think it's because, like, the reason the ending works with this kind of third monster is because they get you so invested in Kong's weakness that even, like, you just want him to survive. Like, you get invested in him living to the point where you're like, Godzilla, please stop hurting him. Like, you win by default. So it was quite clever the way the story kind of framed each of the monsters to lead up to this kind of big climax with this third monster, and then this ending that kind of like satisfied everyone. So overall, honestly, no one likes to be replaced, and getting old sucks, and that's what I got out of it. And yeah, it was fun. It would have been infinitely better in theaters with a crowd, but yeah, that's all I can say. I had fun. Until next time, let me know what you think.